the winds guide you.
Speedrunning has been a fun way to change the way we play some of our favorite games. It can breathe life into old ones, add competition to new ones, and create new challenges for all. But I think one of the basic requirements of a good speedrun game is that the game is not changing, which is why World of Warcraft has been a pretty crappy game for this type of gameplay. But with Classic WoW, that is all going to change. So today I wanted to talk about how I think speedrunning will play a role in classic World of Warcraft's meta. Normally, World of Warcraft has been an ongoing and changing game. Constant class changes, raid rebalancing, and expansions have made the game feel different every few months, which meant that World of Warcraft has been an awful game to try to optimize speedrunning routes for. But now, for the first time, we're going to have Classic WoW, a version of the game that is not going to go through balance changes, or experience changes, or quest changes. It opens up a whole new realm of possibilities for the game. People can race to reach level 60, they can race to clear dungeons and raids. You can really race to whatever level you want. You could even have a foot race like they did to Silithus on the beta. In fact, one of the coolest things about speedrunning is that the rules are made by players. So when do we expect this to start? On Classic WoW's launch day. That's when. Thousands of players are already practicing and preparing for one of the biggest and most interesting races in WoW's history, the race for the world first level 60. The official record of 4 days, 20 hours, and 49 minutes was set back in 2006, and it still stands today, mainly due to the game being lost to changes and no one else getting the chance to beat the record. Even the man who holds the record, Joanna, thinks he'll be able to beat it. And before someone says it, no, private server world record times are not going to count. They're a totally different thing. We've already seen massive differences between the beta and private servers in terms of leveling speed, so the real race begins with Classic WoW's release. Private server records are for private servers, Classic records will be for Classic. But for the people who are going for world first, I hope they stream it and share it with the world, because that's going to be a special moment in WoW's history. And for me, it's going to probably be the second most interesting race achievement in Classic WoW. And now I say second most because to me, the most interesting race will be the world first clear of Classic WoW's Molten Core. Not because the raid is overly difficult, but because I want to see just how quickly some of these super nerds in the world can do it. I've heard of a few guilds that are planning for a week 1 Ragnaros kill, meaning before the first reset happens, they're planning to go into Molten Core and kill Rag. Let me explain just how hard this truly is and why I think it's probably impossible. First, you need to get a team of at least 40 people, but more like 60 people, just in case some of the original group has issues or they can't make it to 60 in time. You do need backup people. Then all of these people have to hit level 60 within those 7 days, which if we looked at the previous world record leveling time was a slash plate of 4 days and 20 hours, which is the record that I do expect to be beaten, but for 40 people to keep up with a similar pace is pretty crazy to me. Also, with so many people playing at launch, there's a very high possibility of server issues, which may make logging in difficult. So now that those people hit 60, all of them need to get attuned for Molten Core and get some basic raid gear in order to start clearing, which isn't really a massive requirement. In all honesty, you could probably do that within a few hours for each person. But then there's one more thing to keep in mind. In order to kill Ragnaros, you need enough reputation and you need to have completed quests in order to cleanse the runes. Those quests require you to go to Azshara and talk to the Duke, go kill some mobs in Silithus, go back to the Duke, kill the first boss in UBRS, go back to the Duke, then go to Molten Core and kill some trash, go back to the Duke, go kill all of the bosses in Molten Core, Gannis, Lucifron, Shazra, Sulfuron, Harbinger, loot their hands, go back to the Duke, and then you can get an Aqua Quintessence to cleanse the rune, but this item is unique, so you only get one. So if only one person completed the quest, then that person has to make the trip back to Azshara to go see the Duke 8 more times in order to cleanse all the runes, in order to summon Major Domo, and then that way you can finally start killing Major Domo and then kill Ragnaros. I'm actually really excited about this race because I want to know if someone is actually going to be able to do that, if it would be possible, but I'm extremely doubtful. But either way, we're going to get to see a world first race in itself, which is pretty great. And whoever does it, we're going to have to give them some real credit for the amount of preparation and effort going into this. Even if somebody clears it within 2 weeks, I think that's a massive achievement and the community needs to be very, very proud of them. So those two are going to be the most interesting and most competitive speedrunning races in Classic WoW, but that's really just the beginning. Every time a new raid comes out, there's going to be a new race to clear it first. These races I don't really expect to last very long though, so they won't be quite as interesting, but what will be interesting is when guilds start to do speed clearing of raids. This is something that top guilds on private servers have already been doing, but there's always been an issue with that. Private servers were all slightly different in terms of difficulty and mechanics, which meant that these records were never comparable to each other, and it made for horrible speedrunning contests. With Classic WoW, we're finally going to have everybody on an even ground, all players competing at the same setting. I feel that this is what is going to extend the life of Classic WoW forever. Most people think Blizzard will probably not add any more content to Classic WoW, or they will move on to Burning Crusade after Naxx, which means that in order to extend the game, players will have to make their own gameplay. Why would people keep clearing raids forever if there's no future content coming? speedrunning. That's why. It adds a competitive side to Classic WoW rating, which it never had. And I think a very small percentage of players will be competing, but that's really what WoW needs. We need those top turbo nerds to look up to so that we can dream of achieving these things. I'm sure we all remember standing around in Shattrath City, inspecting a rogue with his warglaives equipped and dreaming of being that guy. Well, I think this time, the speedrunners will be those people. So those are going to be the premier examples of speedrunning in Classic WoW, but I wanted to talk about something that Blizzard did back in March 2006. Straight from Joanna's website, there's a small section about how Blizzard held a contest open to anyone. This contest was labeled as a race to level 50. The race was for players to all start at the same time, and whoever was the first player to hit level 50 won. Joanna, of course, won the only leveling race that Blizzard ever held. Truly a legend in the speedrunning for World of Warcraft. But if Blizzard doesn't, then we as a community should hold the contest. Open to anyone. The same rules. Pick a realm and start a leveling race. It could be level 10, level 30, level 50, it doesn't really matter. That's what I meant by the speedrunning community making the fun. It's something that I would like to host one day if nobody else does. There's actually already a leaderboard going on the Barrens chat website, under the vanilla and classic beta speedrunning thread, which I'll link in the video description. It lists a level 1 to 10, a level 1 to 20, and a level 1 to 30 leaderboard, with very basic rules like no partying, no auctions, and no funds from other characters. You just pick your race and your class, and you try to level as fast as you possibly can. There's also another thread with advice and lessons for speedrunning vanilla WoW, like skipping slow quests, targeting the correct mobs, and planning when to loot or not to. This, along with Joanna's website, offer pretty great advice for someone looking to start speedrunning a character. Another thing that I used to do with my guild was racing dungeons. Let me tell you right now that after running Skull-Immense 10 times, trying to farm a rare flask recipe with a very low drop percentage, it can get a little stale. What we did to make it interesting as a guild was we would split into groups and race each other. We both started at the same time, and the goal was to clear it faster than the other group. Whoever was slower paid gold to the winner. We were allowed to use invis pots, strategic deaths, everything was allowed. It made it very fun. It was almost like Classic WoW's version of Mythic Plus created by the players. To win, all you had to do was post a screenshot in Discord of the dead final boss with your group, and that's something I want to see guilds making a part of their routines. If any of this sounds interesting to you, I would recommend doing some research and some reading on either the Barrens chat forum post or Joanna's website, and then just give it a go. See how your time goes when Classic WoW is out. But is speedrunning going to be mandatory? Absolutely not. This is for people who really want to push themselves. A lot of people need competition in order to keep themselves going in a game. So if you want to take your time and play the game, that's great. That's exactly what WoW is. It's a game with many different ways to play it. But if you have a friend who says they won't play Classic because there isn't any competition in the game, then I think you should introduce them to this side of the game. If you never tried anything like this before in games, I'd recommend that you give this a go. To this day, one of the most fun things I ever did in World of Warcraft was my realm first level 85. The feeling that you get when you practice and study something for months and then succeed is absolutely amazing. But now I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think of speedrunning in Classic WoW? Have I piqued any interest in watching someone achieve these or even attempt it yourself? I think most people will just want to enjoy the game at their own pace, but everyone should respect the amount of effort going into these accomplishments someone is going to make in Classic WoW. It's really going to be a chance for someone to make a name for themselves with a world first level 60, and I can't wait until August to see it happen. Make sure to like and subscribe if you found the video interesting, because I'll be coming up with more Classic content soon. That's all for me today. This has been Classic Wins.